Her poor mother gives food to a homeless man every day, until the billionaire's son and 3 lawyers knock on her door and everything changes. Harper Collins adjusted the bag of clothes on her shoulder and held her daughter's hand tightly. The afternoon was slowly winding down, and she needed to deliver those finished alterations before it got dark. At 30 years old, Harper knew every street in that neighborhood like the back of her hand. She knew where the sidewalk was broken, which corner had the most shade, and which shortcut was the safest. Mia walked beside her, swinging her colorful lunchbox. Her blonde hair fell over her shoulders, and her bright eyes sparkled with that curiosity that never tired of discovering the world. She was only 6 years old, but she already helped her mother in every way she could. She carried her lunchbox, held the smaller bag, and never complained about the long walk. "Mom, can we stop by the bakery later?" Mia asked, looking up. "If we have a few spare coins, we'll buy some bread, okay?" Mia nodded her head, satisfied with the answer. They turned the corner and entered the park. It was a simple, almost abandoned place. The wooden benches were old, with peeling paint and missing pieces. The trees grew crookedly, unpruned, with dry branches and leaves scattered across the dirt ground. It wasn't a pretty place, ma'am, but it was the shortest path. And it was there that Mia saw him. On the corner bench, under the biggest tree, a man was sitting. He was wearing dirty clothes, torn in some places. His beard was overgrown, covering part of his thin face. His hair was tangled, as if it hadn't seen a comb in weeks. He was looking forward, but his gaze was empty. Lost, scared even, Mia slowed her pace. Harper noticed and squeezed her daughter's hand lightly. "Let's go, sweetie. We need to deliver these clothes." But Mia kept looking back as they walked. "Mum, that man is all alone." Harper glanced back. It was true. The man was completely alone, sitting on that bench as if he were part of the park's forgotten landscape. "He looks hungry," Mia continued, her voice very quiet. Harper sighed. She knew that tone in her daughter's voice well. It was the same tone she used when she saw a stray dog, or when she asked to share her snack with a friend who had forgotten hers at home. "We need to go, Mia. I have to deliver these clothes." Mia didn't answer, but she kept looking back until the man disappeared from view. 2 hours later, Harper and Mia were walking back home. The deliveries were done, and Harper had a few coins in her pocket. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy the basics for dinner. As they walked, Mia was quiet. Too quiet. Harper knew her daughter. She knew she was thinking about something. When they passed the park again, Mia stopped. The man was still there, on the same bench, in the same position. "Mom?" Harper looked at her daughter, then at the man. "He's still there," Mia said, her voice full of concern. "Do you think he ate anything today?" Harper felt her heart clench. She knew she shouldn't get involved. She knew she already had very little, barely managing to support her daughter with the money she earned from sewing. But when she looked into Mia's bright eyes, filled with that pure compassion, she couldn't say no. "Let's go home," Harper said, making a decision. "We'll cook something and bring it to him. Okay?" Mia's face lit up. "Really, Mom? Really? But we have to be fast before it gets completely dark." Mia held her mother's hand tightly, filled with joy. At home, Harper lit the old stove and took out what she had in the fridge. It wasn't much. There was some leftover rice from lunch, a few eggs, a sausage that she'd been saving for dinner. Mia stayed beside her the whole time, watching every move. "Are we making egg and sausage for him, Mum?" "It's what we have, sweetie." Harper fried the sausage, scrambled the eggs, and heated the rice. She put everything into a plastic container with a lid. She grabbed a clean fork and wrapped everything in a dishcloth to keep it warm. "There," Harper said, handing the bundle to Mia to hold. "Hold it carefully. It's hot." Mia held it as if she were carrying a treasure. They left the house and returned to the park. The sun was almost setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The man was still on the bench. It seemed like he hadn't moved since the afternoon. This time, Harper and Mia went straight to him. The man looked up when they approached. He looked surprised. He probably hadn't expected to see anyone, let alone the same 2 people who had passed by hours ago. Mia held out the bundle with both hands. "Eat this, mister." He looked at the package, then at the little girl. He didn't say anything at first, as if he didn't understand what was happening. Mia gave a huge smile. "It's warm." Harper came closer too, standing beside her daughter. "We just made it. It's simple, but it's real food." The man took the bundle with trembling hands. He opened it slowly, as if afraid it would disappear. When he saw the food, the steam still rising, his eyes filled with tears. He picked up the fork and began to eat, and then he started to cry. It wasn't a loud cry. There were no sobs. It was silent, but devastating. Tears streamed down his dirty face as he ate. He ate fast, as if he didn't know when his next meal would be. "Thank you," he whispered between mouthfuls. "Thank you." Mia stood there watching him eat. She wasn't afraid, she wasn't disgusted. There was only that pure compassion that children have. Harper felt a lump in her throat. She put her hand on her daughter's shoulder, squeezing lightly. The man ate everything, every grain of rice, every piece of egg, every slice of sausage. When he finished, he held the empty container and looked at the two of them. It's been a long time since anyone—" His voice trailed off. Harper bent down a little, getting to his level. "What's your name?" It was a simple question, natural, but his reaction was not. The man froze. His face changed. His expression became tense, confused, almost desperate. He looked at the ground, at his own hands, as if searching for the answer there. He started, but stopped. He tried again. I don't know." Harper frowned. "What do you mean you don't know?" "I don't know," he repeated, his voice lower now. "I don't remember. I don't remember anything. Not where I came from. Not who I am." Silence fell heavily between the three of them. Mia looked at the man with those bright eyes full of curiosity. Then, slowly, she took another step closer. "You don't remember your name." He shook his head, unable to look at her. Mia was thoughtful for a moment. She bit her lip, the way she did when she was concentrating. Then, suddenly, her face lit up with a smile. "Then I'm going to call you my big friend." The man looked up. For the first time, he really looked at the little girl. And, for the first time in a long time, maybe months, maybe more, he smiled. It was a small, almost embarrassed smile. But it was real. "Big friend," he repeated, as if testing the words. Yes." Mia clapped her hands. "You're big and now you're my friend, so you're my big friend." He let out a low, slightly choked, but sincere laugh. Harper stood there, watching the scene. Something stirred inside her. It wasn't pity, it was something else, something deeper. As if the universe had placed that man there, on that bench, in that park, at that exact moment. She looked at the man, at the way he still held the empty container, carefully. At the way he looked at Mia, with that gratitude mixed with surprise. It was not by chance. Harper was sure of it. That meeting was not by chance. The next morning, Harper prepared breakfast with what she had at home. Toast with butter, hot tea and a sliced banana to share with Mia. As her daughter ate, she looked out the window, thinking about the man in the park. Had he slept right there? Had he been cold during the night? "Mom, are we taking food to the big friend today?" Mia asked, swinging her legs on the chair. Harper smiled. "Yes, sweetie, we are." She set aside some of the bread, made 2 simple sandwiches, and put them in a plastic bag. It wasn't much, but it was what she could do. When they left for the day's deliveries, Mia carried the bag with the sandwiches as if she were carrying something very important. When they arrived at the park, Mia stopped and looked at the usual bench. There he was. The big friend was sitting in the same spot, but this time he seemed to be awake. He was looking at the ground, his hands resting on his knees. When he heard the footsteps, he lifted his head, and his eyes met theirs. "Big friend." Mia let go of her mother's hand and ran towards him, holding the bag. "We brought food." His face transformed. It was as if a light had turned on inside him. He smiled, a little awkwardly, but it was a real smile. "You came back?" he said, his voice low, almost in disbelief. "We said we would come back," Mia replied, handing him the bag. Here, there are 2 sandwiches. He took the bag carefully and opened it. He looked at the sandwiches as if they were the most precious thing in the world. Thank you. Again, I don't know how to thank you. Harper approached and gave a small smile. You don't need to thank us. We just want to help. While he ate, Mia sat down beside him on the bench, swinging her legs. Harper stood for a moment, but then decided to sit down too. She had some clothes to adjust, and she could do it right there. From that day on, it became routine. Every morning, Harper prepared something for the big friend. Sometimes it was a sandwich. Other times it was some leftover food from the previous night's dinner. No matter what it was, she always set something aside. And Mia? Mia spent her time counting the minutes until they reached the park. Big friend, she shouted every time she saw him, running ahead of her mother. We brought food, and every time he smiled. He waited for them. Sometimes he seemed anxious, looking in the direction they always came from, as if he was afraid they wouldn't show up anymore. But they always showed up. After a few days, Mia started sitting next to him for longer. It wasn't just dropping off the food and leaving. She stayed, she talked. "Oh, guess what I learned in school today?" she asked one day, all excited. He shook his head, curious. "I learned how to write my full name. Look." Mia picked up a stick from the ground and wrote in the dirt, M-I-A. He looked at the crooked letters on the ground and smiled. "That looks nice. And I also learned a song. Do you want to hear it?" He nodded yes, and Mia began to sing a silly little song she had learned. It was off-key. She forgot the words in the middle, but she sang with so much joy that it was impossible not to smile. He laughed. It was a low, slightly rusty laugh, as if he no longer knew how to laugh properly, but it was real. "You laughed!" Mia clapped her hands. "Joe, it's the first time I've seen you laugh." He seemed surprised at himself. "Yeah, I guess so." Harper watched from a distance as she sewed. She had brought a bag of clothes that needed adjustments. Pant hems, loose buttons, unstitched seams, nothing complicated. But she could do it right there while keeping an eye on her daughter. She threaded the needle easily, measuring the fabric, making small, precise stitches. It was automatic for her. She had been doing it for years. The big friend watched. At first, it was just a quick glance. Then, he started paying more attention. He watched the way she held the needle, how she threaded the line, how she measured the fabric before cutting. Something stirred inside him. It wasn't a clear memory, it wasn't an image, it was just a feeling, as if he had seen that before, as if that movement were familiar. He frowned, trying to remember, but nothing came. Only that strange feeling of familiarity mixed with a huge emptiness. When he tried to force the memory, he felt a dull ache in his head, as if he were trying to open a locked door. Every time he pushed, the door became heavier. Then he gave up. But when he looked at Harper sewing, or at Mia drawing on the ground with sticks, the pain disappeared. The emptiness lessened. He felt calm. A few days passed like this. Every morning, Harper and Mia arrived with food. Mia talked, showed him drawings she made in school, told made-up stories. He listened to everything attentively, as if every word was important. Harper sewed nearby, always keeping an eye on the two of them. One day, while Mia was drawing on the ground, he watched Harper work. She was hemming a pair of jeans and with her reading glasses resting on her nose. "Do you do this every day?" he asked timidly. Harper looked up. "I do, it's my job. I sew, adjust clothes, make repairs. That's how I earn a living." He nodded, thoughtfully. "It seems difficult." "It's a lot of work," Harper admitted. "But I like it. There's something comforting about fixing things, you know. Taking something that's torn and making it whole again." He was silent for a moment. "I wish I could remember if I did something," he said, his voice low. "Anything. But it's all empty." Harper stopped sewing and looked at him. "Don't force it. Sometimes things come back when we least expect it." He gave a sad smile. "I don't remember anything." He paused, looking at Mia, who was now showing him the drawing she had made. "But I remember that you two come every day." Harper felt a tightness in her chest. "And we'll keep coming," she said firmly. "Every day." Mia looked up from her drawing and smiled. "Yes, we're your friend, big friend. Friends don't abandon friends." He looked at the two of them, at the blonde woman who sewed patiently, at the little girl with bright eyes who drew on the dirty ground of the park, at those two people who appeared out of nowhere and decided that he mattered. And for the first time since he woke up with no memory, he felt that maybe he wasn't completely lost. Maybe there was still something to hold on to. Maybe there was hope. The days continued like this. Harper and Mia arrived with food. Mia talked, laughed, told stories. Harper sewed, watched, and made sure her daughter was safe. And the big friend waited. Every day, he waited. Because, of all the things he couldn't remember, there was one that was becoming clearer and clearer. He remembered them, and that, for now, was enough. The sky was too dark for that time of day. Heavy clouds covered everything, and the wind blew strongly, lifting dry leaves and dust through the streets. Harper held the bag of clothes tightly with one hand and Mia's hand with the other. They had just made the last delivery of the day and were heading home. "Mom, it's going to rain," Mia said, looking up at the sky. "I know, sweetie, we need to hurry." But before they could leave the main street, the first drops began to fall. Thick, heavy, cold. In a matter of seconds, it turned into a downpour. The rain fell hard, the kind that soaks you through in minutes. Harper pulled Mia under the awning of a closed store, trying to take shelter. "We're going to have to wait for it to pass a little," Harper said, wiping her wet face. Mia looked out at the street, at the rain falling like a grey curtain. Then her bright eyes widened. "Mom, the park," Harper frowned. "What? The big friend, he's in the park." Harper felt her stomach clench. She looked in the direction of the park, but she couldn't see anything through that rain. "Mia, we can't go now, it's raining too hard." "But he'll get soaked." The little girl's voice was full of worry. "He has nowhere to go, Mom." Harper bit her lip. She knew her daughter was right. The big friend was there, alone, with no shelter, with nothing. "Okay," she sighed. "We'll walk past the park, but fast, okay?" Mia nodded her head, and the two ran out from under the awning. The rain soaked everything in seconds. Both their blonde hairs stuck to their faces. Their clothes became heavy, but they kept running. When they reached the park, they stopped. There he was. The big friend was sitting on the bench, completely drenched. His old clothes stuck to his thin body, his beard dripping water. He was hunched forward, his arms trying to shield his head, but it was no use. The rain poured down on him mercilessly, and he was shaking so much that you could see it even from a distance. "Big friend!" Mia shouted, running toward him. He lifted his head, startled. When he saw the little girl running toward him, he tried to stand up, but his legs didn't obey properly. Mia reached him, breathless, her eyes full of tears mixed with the rain. "You're going to get sick. You're shivering." He tried to smile, but his lips were trembling too much. I'm fine." "No, you're not." Mia hugged his legs, as if she could protect him from the rain with just that gesture. Harper arrived right behind her. She looked at the scene in front of her. The soaked man, shivering from the cold, with no coat, with nothing. Her daughter was clinging to his legs, crying. The rain was falling harder and harder. She made a decision. "Come with us." He looked up, confused. "What?" "Come with us," Harper repeated, firmer now. "You're not going to stay in this rain." "But I don't." "Yes, you can," Harper interrupted. "Get up, let's go." He hesitated. He looked at his own dirty hands, at his soaked and torn clothes. Then he looked at Harper, with that shame visible on his face. "I don't want to be a bother." Mia let go of his legs and took his hand with both her small hands. "Come on, you're my big friend. Friends take care of each other." She pulled his hand, and this time he didn't resist. He stood up slowly, his legs shaky, his body trembling. Harper held his other arm to help. "Let's go. Fast, before the rain gets worse." The three ran across the streets, Harper in front, pulling his arm, Mia behind, holding his hand tightly. When they reached the house, Harper opened the door in a hurry and ushered everyone inside. Inside the house, The sound of the rain was muffled. Harper closed the door and looked at the big friend, who was standing by the entrance, dripping water onto the floor. He looked around, a little lost. It was a small, simple house. Old furniture, walls with peeling paint in some corners, but it was clean, organized, and it had that scent of home. "Stay right there," Harper said, leaving quickly. She returned with a large towel and held it out to him. "Dry your face, your hair. I'll get some clothes for you." He took the towel, still trembling, and began to dry his face. Water streamed off him, forming a puddle on the floor. Harper went to the small room she used as storage and rummaged through a box of donations that a neighbor had given months ago. There were some men's clothes there, from a husband who had left. She grabbed a pair of sweatpants, a simple t-shirt, and an old jacket. She returned and handed them to him. "I'll go to the bathroom and change your clothes. It's down the hall, first door on the left." He looked at the clothes in his hands as if they were made of gold. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice choked. While he went to change, Mia ran to the sofa and grabbed a blanket that was folded on the backrest. "Mom, he's going to sleep here, right?" Harper sighed. "Yes, sweetie, he is. At least for tonight while it's raining." Mia smiled, excited, and started tidying the sofa. She spread out the blanket, plumped a cushion, as if she were preparing a hotel room. "This will be your spot," she said, proud of her work. The big friend returned from the bathroom a few minutes later. The clothes were a little big on him, but they were dry and clean. He had dried his hair with the towel, and his beard no longer dripped. He stood at the entrance to the living room, looking at the tidy sofa, at Mia smiling beside it, at Harper, who was now drying the floor with a cloth. His voice failed. He swallowed hard and tried again. "No one has done this for me since I woke up without remembering anything." Harper stopped cleaning and looked at him. "Everyone deserves a warm place to sleep when it's raining like this." He shook his head, tears returning to his eyes. "Thank you. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to," Mia said, pulling him by the hand to the sofa. "Sit here. I'll get another blanket because this one isn't very warm." She ran off to the bedroom. The big friend sat down on the sofa slowly, as if afraid he might break something. He looked around once more, absorbing every detail. The old sewing machine in the corner, the small table with a few magazines, the simple curtains, the scent of home. Harper went to the kitchen and returned with a mug of hot tea. "Drink this. It will warm you up from the inside." He took the mug with both hands, feeling the heat through his fingers. He drank slowly, closing his eyes. Mia came back with another blanket and threw it over him. "There, now you won't be cold." He smiled at her, a tired but sincere smile. "Thank you, Mia." Harper sat down on the chair beside him, watching. Outside, the rain continued to fall heavily, beating hard on the roof. "You can stay here tonight," Harper said. "We'll see tomorrow, okay?" He nodded, unable to speak. After the simple dinner, vegetable soup that Harper always made when there were few leftovers, Mia went to bed. She still stopped by the sofa first, just to make sure the big friend was all right. "Good night, big friend," she said, waving. "Good night, Mia." Harper turned off the lights in the living room, leaving only a dim light on in the hallway. The big friend lay down on the sofa, covered by the blankets that Mia had arranged so carefully. He lay there looking at the ceiling, listening to the sound of the rain on the roof. He felt the warmth of the blankets, the scent of the house, the feeling of being protected. He closed his eyes, and, for the first time in a long time, he truly slept. But during the night, the dream came. It was different from anything he had dreamed before, more vivid, more real. He was in a dark place. He couldn't see clearly, but he heard a voice, a child's voice. "Dad! Dad!" A little boy was crying. He couldn't see his face clearly, but he saw his outstretched arms. The boy was asking for help. "Dad, please, don't go away." He tried to move. He tried to go to the boy, but he couldn't. It was as if he were trapped, as if something was stopping him from getting close. "I'm here," he shouted in the dream. "I'm here, son." But the boy kept crying, kept reaching out his hands, and then the pain came. A huge, tearing pain that cut through his chest like a knife. It wasn't physical pain, it was something else. It was the pain of losing something very important, of being far away from someone who needed him. He woke up suddenly, breathless, sweating. He sat up on the sofa, his breathing ragged, his heart pounding. What was that? Who was that boy? As the sun began to rise, Mia woke up. She came out of the bedroom in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes, and went to the living room. The big friend was sitting on the sofa, his back hunched, his hands on his head. He looked restless. "Big friend," she called softly. He lifted his head, startled. He tried to smile, but his expression was weary. "Good morning, Mia." She walked over and sat down beside him on the sofa. "Are you okay? You look sad." He took a deep breath. I had a dream. A strange dream." "What kind of dream?" He looked at his own hands, trying to put it into words. "There was a boy, a little boy. He was crying and calling out for me." Mia tilted her head, curious. "Calling you what?" He called me Dad." Silence fell in the room. Mia frowned, thoughtful. "Do you think he's someone from your family?" He shook his head, lost. "I don't know, I don't remember. But when I saw him in the dream, I felt..." He paused, trying to find the right words. "I felt that he was important, very important. And it hurts. It hurts a lot when I see this boy in my head." Mia took his hand. "Maybe he's your real son." He looked at her, his eyes filled with anguish. "If he is, where is he? Why isn't he with me? Why don't I remember him?" Mia didn't know what to say, so she just squeezed his hand tightly. "When you remember, we'll help you find him. I promise." He gave a sad smile and squeezed her little hand back. Throughout the day, Harper didn't let him go back to the park. It was still raining occasionally, and she thought it best for him to stay there. Mia played with him inside the house. She showed him her drawings, taught him how to build a tower with old wooden blocks, and told made-up stories about princesses and dragons. He laughed. He participated. He seemed lighter when he was with her. Harper prepared lunch, rice, beans, and a piece of chicken she had managed to buy the day before. She put everything on the table and called them over. "Come eat." The big friend sat at the table with them. He looked at the plate as if it were a feast. "Is this for me too?" "Of course," Harper said, serving his plate. "Eat plenty." He ate slowly, savoring every mouthful. Every gesture they made was creating something inside him. They weren't memories of the past. They were new memories, being built right there at that simple table. After lunch, Harper returned to the sewing machine. She had work piled up. The sound of the machine filled the house. Tick, 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 a constant comforting sound. The big friend stayed on the sofa, watching. Mia sat beside him, drawing in an old notebook. Outside, the rain began to fall again, softer now. The sound of the drops on the roof mixed with the whirring of the sewing machine, with Mia's quiet laughter, with the scent of food still in the air. He closed his eyes and absorbed everything. The scent of food, the sound of the sewing machine, the little girl's laughter, the sound of rain on the roof. Every detail was being recorded inside him. Every sensation was forming a root, and for the first time since he woke up with no memory, he felt that he was in a place where he could belong. Even without knowing who he was, even without remembering his past, he was there, protected, welcomed, remembered, and, for now, that was enough. The morning was peaceful. Harper was making coffee while Mia helped put the cups on the table. The big friend was still asleep on the sofa, covered by the blankets that Mia had arranged with so much care the night before. The scent of coffee spread through the small house. Outside, the birds were singing. Everything seemed normal, common, safe, until the knocking on the door broke the silence. It wasn't ordinary knocking. It was loud, insistent, desperate. The kind of knocking that makes your heart race even before you know who is on the other side. Harper stopped what she was doing and looked at the door. Mia stopped too, her eyes wide. "Who is it, Mum?" "I don't know, sweetie. Stay here." Harper dried her hands on her apron and went to the door. She took a deep breath before opening it. When she opened it, she was paralyzed. Standing in front of her was a boy. He couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Dark hair neatly combed, expensive and well-fitting clothes, but his face was completely wet with tears. His eyes were desperate, red from crying so much. But it wasn't just the boy. Behind him were three men in suits. Dark, well-cut suits, perfectly aligned ties, shining shoes. All of them had serious, professional expressions, but also weary, as if they had been searching for something for a long time. And on the street, parked right in front of the simple house, was a black car. Large, luxurious, with tinted windows, completely out of place in that humble neighborhood where the cars were old and rusty. The boy took a step forward, trembling. He held a photo with both hands, clutching it as if it were the most precious thing in the world. "Ma'am!" His voice came out broken, full of desperation. "Please, have you seen this man? He's my dad." Harper took the photo he held out with trembling hands. She looked at the image, and the world around her disappeared for a second. It was the big friend. But it wasn't the big friend she knew. In the photo, he was wearing a dark suit, his hair slicked back, his beard shaved and trimmed. He was smiling beside the boy, the two of them in a beautiful place with flowering trees and a blue sky in the background. The man in the photo looked confident, happy, successful. He looked like a completely different person. But it was him. The eyes were the same, the shape of his face, the way he smiled. It was him. "Mom?" Mia came closer, curious, and stretched her neck to look at the photo. Her bright eyes suddenly widened. "Mom! It's the boy from my big friend's dreams." Harper looked again at the boy in front of her, at his eyes, red and swollen, at his face, which held the same desperate expression. And then everything made sense. It was the boy from the dream. The boy who cried and called out for him every night. At that exact moment, they heard a sound coming from the living room. The big friend had woken up. He appeared at the living room door, still in the loose sweatpants and the simple, faded t-shirt that Harper had loaned him. His hair was messy, his beard still unshaved, his eyes swollen from sleep. He rubbed his face, confused by the noise. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice hoarse with sleep, and then his eyes met the boy's. Everything stopped. The boy froze in place. He looked at the man in the living room doorway, at his face, at his eyes, at every detail. His lips trembled, tears began to stream down, faster now, and then something inside him exploded. "Dad!" Caleb ran. He ran with all the strength he had. He tripped over the doorstep, almost fell, but recovered and kept running. He ran past Harper, past Mia, past the lawyers who tried to hold him back, and he threw himself into the big friend's arms. "Dad!" he cried again, clutching his father with all the strength a 7-year-old boy could muster. "Kid, I missed you so much. I knew you were looking for me. I knew it." The big friend was completely paralyzed. His arms were half raised, not knowing what to do. He felt the boy clinging to him as if his life depended on it. He felt the warm tears wetting his t-shirt. He felt the strong sobs shaking the small body. He felt the thin arms around his waist, squeezing tightly. And then something inside him shattered into 1,000 pieces. A huge pain cut through his chest. It wasn't physical. It was something else. It was as if his heart knew something that his mind had forgotten. He started to cry, too. Thick tears streamed down his face as he hugged the boy. He squeezed tightly as the boy was squeezing. As if his body knew exactly how to do that, even if his mind didn't remember. "I feel something," he said, his voice broken. I feel it in my chest. But I don't remember. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Caleb cried even louder, shaking his head against his father's chest. "You don't need to remember now. You don't. I looked for you everywhere. I never stopped. I knew you were alive. Everyone said you had left, but I knew you hadn't." The words came out all jumbled, mixed with sobs and tears. The three lawyers entered the house, but maintained a respectful distance. One of them, an older man with completely grey hair and gold-rimmed glasses, stepped forward. He cleared his throat, clearly moved by the scene. "Mr. Reed," he said, his voice formal but with a touch of emotion, "we have been looking for you for 4 months." The big friend lifted his eyes, still holding Caleb tightly. Reed? Is that my name? Michael Reed, the lawyer confirmed, taking a document from the folder he carried. You were a businessman, owner of one of the largest import and export companies in the region. You disappeared exactly 4 months ago. Your son, he looked at Caleb, who was still clinging to his father. Your son never gave up looking. Michael Reed. He repeated the name mentally several times, trying to feel if it sparked anything inside him, trying to see if the memory came back, if a door opened. But nothing came. It was just a name that seemed to belong to someone else. I don't remember, Michael said, his voice low and full of frustration. I don't remember any of that. The second lawyer, a younger man with black hair and a serious face, stepped forward. Mr. Reed, you need immediate medical attention, proper treatment with neurologists, psychiatrists, memory specialists. We have a complete team waiting. And you also need security, your company, your properties, your accounts. Everything is awaiting your return. There are people trying to take control of everything in your absence. Michael looked at Harper. His eyes met hers, and something passed between them without words. Harper had tears streaming down her face. She didn't say anything. She just nodded slightly, as if she were saying, "Go. You need to go. He needs you." Then Michael looked at Mia. Mia was standing near her mother, with tears running down her face. She didn't completely understand what was happening, but she knew. She knew she was losing her big friend. Michael looked down at the boy still clinging to him. Caleb lifted his tear-stained face and looked at his father. "Dad, are you going away again?" His voice was so small, so scared. Michael squeezed the boy tighter against his chest. "No. I'm not going away from you. Never again. I'm going with you." The lawyers began to organize everything quickly. They talked about doctors waiting, appointments scheduled, and a security team. They said they had brought clean clothes in the car, that they could take him immediately to receive the treatment he needed. But before leaving, Michael gently let go of Caleb and approached Mia. He knelt down slowly, getting to her level. He looked right into the little girl's bright eyes. "Don't forget your big friend, okay?" Mia couldn't hold it in. She sobbed loudly and threw her arms around his neck, squeezing with all her might. "I'll never forget you," she said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "Never, ever, ever." Michael hugged her tightly. He smelled her blonde hair, felt her small arms around his neck, felt all the pure love that this little girl had given him since the first day. He felt that he was leaving behind something very important. When he stood up, his knees cracked. He looked at Harper. She was crying silently, but trying to smile. "Thank you," was all Michael could manage to say. His voice was broken. "For everything. For feeding me. For giving me shelter. For treating me like a person when I was no one." Harper wiped the tears from her face with the back of her hand and smiled, even while crying. "Some take good care of him," she said, looking at Caleb. "He loves you very much, more than anything." Michael nodded. He couldn't speak anymore. If he did, he would break down right there. The lawyers gently guided him toward the door. Caleb held his father's hand so tightly that his fingers were turning white, as if he was afraid that if he let go for a second, his father would disappear again. Mia and Harper stood at the door, hugging each other, watching them get into the big black car. When the car pulled away, Mia buried her face in her mother's stomach and cried. She cried the way only a child cries, as with her whole body shaking. Harper stroked her daughter's blonde hair, gently comforting her, watching the car slowly disappear around the corner. The big friend was gone. Inside the car, Michael was sitting in the back seat, with Caleb glued to his side. The boy wouldn't let go of his hand for a second. Every now and then he squeezed tighter, as if he needed to be sure that this was real. Michael looked out the window. He saw Harper's simple house getting further and further away. He saw the park where he had spent so much time sitting on that old, broken bench. He saw the humble neighborhood, the cracked asphalt streets, the small houses with peeling paint. He was storing everything in his memory, every image, every detail, every feeling. Because Of everything that had happened since he woke up without remembering anything, those were the most vivid memories he had. Caleb shifted the backpack on his lap and took out a small photo album with a leather cover. "Dad," he said softly, his voice still trembling, "I brought photos. So you can remember us." He opened the album carefully and began to show it, page by page. Photos of birthdays, with huge cakes and colorful balloons. Photos of trips, with white sand beaches and blue sea, snow-covered mountains. Photos of the two of them together, always smiling, always happy. Photos in parks, in restaurants, at parties. Michael looked at each photo carefully. He studied every detail. He tried to concentrate. He tried to force his mind to remember, to recognize those places, those moments. But nothing came. Only that painful emptiness, that black hole where memories should have been. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying harder. Caleb turned another page. There was a large photo there. Michael in a grey suit, holding Caleb in his lap. They were both laughing, happy, in front of a huge glass building. "This was on your 35th birthday," Caleb said, his voice full of hope. "We celebrated at your office. There was a giant cake. Do you remember?" Michael stared intently at the photo. He squeezed his eyes until they hurt, until he saw white spots. He tried with all his might, but it was all dark, as if there were an immense wall blocking everything. "I'm trying," he whispered, tears streaming down again. "I'm trying so hard, but it's all dark." His voice broke at the end. Caleb closed the album slowly. He looked at his father. He saw the tears. He saw the frustration. He saw the pain etched on his face. And then, with an impressive maturity for a boy of just 7 years old, he took his father's hand with both his small hands. "It's okay, Dad," he said firmly, looking straight into his eyes. "You don't have to remember now. I'm with you. I won't leave you alone ever again." Michael looked at his son, at that little boy who had searched for him for 4 months, who hadn't given up when everyone probably told him to, who had waited, who had believed. And even without remembering anything, even without being able to access any memory, he knew deep in his chest that he loved that boy, that he needed to protect him, that he needed to be there. He squeezed his son's hand back, intertwining their fingers. "I'm here," Michael said, his voice firmer now. "I'm here with you, and I won't leave again." Caleb smiled. It was a small, tear-stained smile, but it was real and full of hope. 40 minutes later, the car drove through a huge wrought-iron gate. 2 uniformed security guards slowly opened the gate. The road changed completely. From cracked asphalt to perfect shiny cobblestones, there were huge trees planted on both sides, colorful flowers in impeccable flower beds, and precisely cut grass. And then the mansion appeared. Michael felt the air leave his lungs. It was huge, gigantic. 3 stories of white walls, enormous windows that reflected the sun, columns at the main entrance, a fountain in the middle of the front garden. Everything was extremely clean, organized, perfect. The car stopped smoothly in front of the main door. The lawyers got out first. One of them opened the door for Michael. "Welcome back, Mr. Reed." Michael got out of the car slowly, his legs a little shaky. He looked around, trying to absorb everything. Caleb jumped out of the car and immediately clung to his side, still holding his hand. A line of staff was aligned at the entrance, all in impeccable uniforms, all with their hands crossed in front of them, all smiling. "Welcome back, Mr. Reed," they said in unison. Michael climbed the marble steps. Every step echoed. He entered the entrance hall and stopped. The hall was enormous, bigger than Harper's entire house. Shiny marble floor, a wide staircase that split into 2, immense crystal chandeliers hanging from the high ceiling, huge paintings on the walls, expensive furniture. Everything was luxurious. Everything was organized. Everything was perfect, but empty. So empty that the echo of his footsteps seemed to scream loneliness. Cold, despite all the beauty. It was cold. Michael stood there, right in the middle of that giant hall, slowly turning around. He looked at the walls, at the chandeliers, at the staircase. He tried to feel something. He tried to feel recognition, familiarity, but he felt nothing. It was just a beautiful place. Expensive, impeccable. But it wasn't home. The house was silent. Harper tried to follow her routine. She grabbed the pile of clothes that needed adjustments and sat down in front of the old sewing machine. She threaded the needle, adjusted the fabric, and stepped on the pedal. The sound of the machine filled the room. Tick, 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 tick. But it sounded different, louder, emptier. She sewed the hem of a pair of pants, then adjusted the sleeve of a shirt. She did everything automatically, without paying much attention. Her hands worked on their own, but her mind was elsewhere. When she finished the sewing, she stood up. She looked around. The house was clean, it always had been, but now it felt empty. She went to the kitchen, she started washing the breakfast dishes, she scrubbed the cups, rinsed the plates, and dried everything with the dishcloth. She put everything back in the right place. Then she swept the floor, she mopped. She organized the cushions on the sofa, but nothing seemed to fill the void. Harper stopped in the middle of the room, looking at the sofa, at the blanket still folded there, at the cushion he had used. She felt a tightness in her chest. Mia was in the bedroom, but she wasn't playing. She wasn't drawing. She wasn't singing as she always did. She came out of the bedroom slowly, hugging the rag doll her mother had made for her months ago. She walked through the living room with dragging steps. She stopped in front of the sofa. She stood there, just looking at the place where the big friend had slept, at the blankets she herself had arranged so carefully, at the cushion that still held the shape of his head. She clutched the doll against her chest, then slowly she sat down on the floor. She leaned her back against the sofa, in the same position she sat when she talked to him, when she showed him her drawings, when she told him stories from school. She stayed there, quiet, hugging the doll. Harper noticed. She put the dishcloth down on the table and went to the living room. When she saw her daughter sitting on the floor, leaning against the sofa, with that lost look, her heart broke a little more. "Mia?" she called softly. Mia lifted her bright eyes. They were red, swollen. "Mom," her voice came out softly, almost a whisper. "I miss my big friend." Harper felt her own tears return. She approached, sat down on the floor beside her daughter, and pulled Mia into her lap. Mia nestled against her mother, still hugging the doll. "I miss him too, sweetie," Harper said, her voice choked. "Me too." "Is he going to come back to visit us?" Mia asked, looking up. Harper caressed her daughter's blonde hair, gently running her fingers through the strands. "I don't know, my love. He has a life now. He has his son. He has a big house. He has doctors taking care of him." "But he was our friend," Mia interrupted, her voice becoming more tearful. "We took care of him. We gave him food. We let him sleep here when it was raining. I know. We did all that because he needed it. And we did it with all our heart." "Then why did he go away?" Harper pulled her daughter closer, hugging her tightly. "Because his son needed him too. That little boy searched for his father for so long. They need to be together now." Mia was quiet for a moment, processing. "But I needed him too," she said, so quietly that Harper barely heard. And it was that sentence that completely broke Harper. She hugged her daughter and started to cry. She cried softly, trying not to make a sound, but her shoulders were shaking. Mia noticed and hugged her mother back, squeezing tightly. The two of them stayed there, sitting on the living room floor, leaning against the sofa, hugging, crying together. Each one thinking about the man who had entered their lives without warning, who had become part of their routine, part of the family. Harper thought about the mornings preparing food for him, the way he looked at the food as if it were the most precious thing in the world, the shy smile when Mia called him big friend, the way he watched her sewing, as if it sparked something inside him. Mia thought about their conversations in the park, the drawings she showed him, the stories she told, the way he laughed, a little rusty, as if he had forgotten how, the tight hug before he left. They thought about the piece of family that had been taken away. After a while, the tears lessened. Only quiet sobs remained. Mia wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Mom, we were important to him, weren't we?" Harper looked at her daughter, at those bright eyes full of hope. "Yes, we were. Very important. We saved him, Mia. When no one else saw him, we did. When he was hungry, we fed him. When he was cold, we sheltered him. So he won't forget us. Harper squeezed her daughter tighter. No, he will never forget us. I'm sure of it. Mia leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. I will remember him every day, she said, her voice tired now. Every day when we pass by the park, I will remember my big friend. Harper kissed the top of her daughter's head. I will remember him too. My love, always. They stayed there for a while longer, in silence. Only the sound of their breathing, the distant noise of cars on the street, the wind hitting the window. The house was quiet, empty, but they were together. And for now, they had to be enough for each other, even with that huge emptiness occupying the space where the big friend used to be. Michael was sitting in a huge room. The walls were white, the furniture made of dark, expensive wood. A long table occupied the center, covered with papers and documents. Around the table were 3 lawyers and 2 doctors, all with serious expressions. Caleb was next to his father, quiet but holding his arm firmly. The older lawyer opened a large folder and began to take out documents. Mr. Reed, let's start with the basics, he said, placing the first paper on the table. This is your birth certificate. Michael looked at it. He saw the name, Michael James Reed. This is your driver's license. Michael picked up the license. He opened it. He saw his photo, younger, smiling. He saw the name, the date of birth, the address, but it was like looking at a stranger's ID. This is the registration of your company. The lawyer placed more papers. Reed Imports and Exports, founded by you 12 years ago. More documents, signed contracts, old newspaper articles with his photo, talking about successful business ventures. Michael looked at everything. He picked up each paper, read each line, but he didn't recognize anything. The lawyer clasped his hands on the table. Your name is Michael Reed. Michael looked at the name on the certificate. He pronounced it softly. Michael. Michael Reed. It felt strange, like trying on clothes that don't fit, that are too tight, that don't match. One of the doctors leaned forward. Mr. Reed, do you remember anything when you hear this name? Any feeling? Anything at all? Michael closed his eyes. He tried. He took a deep breath, trying to feel if that name sparked anything. But nothing came. He opened his eyes, frustrated. It sounds like you're talking about someone else. The doctor nodded, making notes. That's common in cases of severe amnesia. The identity can feel distant. The second lawyer went to a notebook at the end of the table. He turned the screen towards Michael. We prepared some videos. They are recordings of you at events, meetings, interviews. Perhaps it will help. He pressed play. The screen showed Michael in an impeccable suit, speaking on a large stage. There were hundreds of people in the audience. He spoke confidently, gesticulating, smiling. Michael watched, tense. He tried to see himself in that man. He tried to recognize the voice, the gestures, but it was like watching a stranger. The lawyer switched to another video, Michael in a meeting, sitting at the head of a table, giving instructions to executives. Another video, Michael in an interview, talking about the company's expansion plans. Michael forced his mind. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to pull up some memory. He tried so hard that his head started to ache, a dull, throbbing pain growing behind his eyes. But nothing came. Nothing but that dark wall blocking everything. The frustration exploded. He pushed the chair back and stood up abruptly. Why don't I remember? He shouted, his voice cracking. Why don't I remember my life? Why don't I remember you, Caleb? He looked at his son, tears streaming down his face. Caleb's eyes were also teary. He stood up slowly. The lawyers and doctors remained silent. Caleb took a few steps toward his father. He stopped in front of him. Dad. His voice was soft but firm. I'm here. We can start over. Michael looked at his son, at that 7-year-old boy who was being stronger than him. He bent down, getting to Caleb's level. He held the boy's face with both hands. Forgive me, son, he said, his voice choked. I'm trying, truly. But I need you to be patient with me. I'm trying to remember. Caleb didn't say anything. He just took a step forward and hugged his father tightly. I'll wait, he whispered. I'll stay by your side. Michael hugged his son back, squeezing tightly. He felt the small body against him. And even without remembering, he felt that he loved that boy more than anything. Later, after the doctors left and the lawyers went to organize more documents, Michael was alone in the room with Caleb. The boy was drawing on the floor. An employee entered, knocking on the door. It was an older woman, in uniform, with a gentle smile. "Mr. Reed, I brought you some tea." "Thank you," Michael replied. The woman hesitated before leaving. "If I may say so, sir, it's very good to have you back. The house was empty without you." Michael nodded. She continued. "We were all worried, especially after we heard you were found by that seamstress mother and her little girl. How lucky you were to find such kind people." Something inside Michael lit up. "The seamstress mother," he repeated. "Yes," the woman smiled. "The lawyers said a woman and a little girl took care of you when you had nowhere to stay." And then, like a wave, the memories came. Harper, her face, her blonde hair tied back, her calloused hands. Mia, her bright eyes full of kindness, her sweet smile, her small hands holding out food, the warm snack, the heavy rain falling, the sofa with blankets, the small house but full of warmth, the nickname, our big friend. Michael closed his eyes and saw everything, every detail, every moment. It wasn't hazy, it wasn't confusing, it was vivid, real, as if it had happened yesterday. He remembered the smell of the food Harper prepared, the sound of the sewing machine, Mia's laughter, the way Mia sat next to him on the park bench telling stories. He remembered her hug before he left, the smell of her hair, her tears wetting his shoulder. He opened his eyes. The employee had already left. Caleb watched him, curious. "Dad, are you okay?" Michael looked at his son. I remembered something." Caleb stood up quickly, hopeful. "You remembered?" "Remembered me. Our house." "No, I remembered them. The woman and the girl who helped me." The hope on Caleb's face faded, but he tried to smile. "That's okay. At least you remember something." Michael ran a hand over his face, confused. He didn't remember his own company. He didn't remember the employees, the business, the meetings. He didn't remember the mansion where he lived, but he perfectly remembered Harper preparing food, Mia running to him in the park, the old sofa where he had slept, the blanket that smelled of lavender. Why? Why were Harper and Mia, whom he had known for such a short time, more real in his memory than an entire previous life? He didn't understand. But it was the truth. The only things he could remember clearly were the days in the park, the simple house, and the two people who treated him like a person when he was no one. 3 weeks passed since Michael returned to the mansion. He had been to several therapy sessions, doctors, neurologists, psychologists, all asking questions, showing images, trying to spark something, but nothing worked. One afternoon, during another session, Michael was sitting in the comfortable armchair of the office. The therapist, a middle-aged man with glasses, was taking notes. "How are you feeling this week, Michael?" Michael was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice low but firm. "I need to see them." The therapist looked up. "Them." "The girl." "The seamstress mother," Michael explained. "I don't remember my life, but I remember them. I need to see them." Outside the consultation room door, Caleb was sitting in the waiting room. He heard everything. When his father left the session, Caleb stood up immediately. "Dad, I heard what you said in there." Michael looked at his son, surprised. "I want to go with you," Caleb said, determined. "If they make you smile, I want to meet them properly. I want to thank them for taking care of you." Michael felt his chest tighten. He bent down and hugged his son. "Thank you, Caleb." The lawyers organized everything. They verified the address, prepared the car, and made sure everything was in order. The next day, in the morning, the black car left the mansion. Michael was tense in the back seat. Caleb was next to him, holding his father's hand. As the car approached the humble neighborhood, Michael felt his heart beat faster. He recognized the streets, the broken sidewalks, the simple houses. The car turned the corner and entered Harper's Street. And there, in front of the house, was Mia. She was playing with a doll in the small front yard. Her blonde hair shone under the morning sun. The car stopped. Mia looked up, curious about that big black car on her street. Michael opened the door and got out. Mia looked at him. For a second, she didn't recognize him. He was wearing clean, expensive clothes. His hair was combed. His beard was shaved. But then her bright eyes widened. "Big friend?" She dropped the doll and ran. She ran with all the strength she had, her little arms open, shouting with joy. Michael felt the tears come immediately. He broke into a huge, tearful smile and knelt down. Mia threw herself into his arms tightly. "Big friend, you came back, you came back!" Michael hugged her tightly, squeezing as if he never wanted to let go. He felt the small body against him. He felt the little arms around his neck, and the sound of that name. Big Friend was like fitting every broken piece inside him, as if that simple nickname was the glue that held everything together. "I came back," he whispered, crying. "I came back to see you." The front door of the house opened. Harper appeared, wiping her hands on her apron. When she saw the scene, she stopped in place. Michael still hugging Mia, the black car, the lawyers getting out of the car, and a little boy with dark hair watching everything with curiosity. "Michael," she said softly, her eyes watering. Michael looked up and saw Harper, and at that moment, everything exploded. A sequence of memories flooded his head like an avalanche. The day of the first snack, Mia holding out the sandwich with that sweet smile. "Eat this, mister. It's warm." Mia running to him in the park, shouting, "Big friend, we brought food." The heavy rain. He was soaked, shivering on the bench. Harper saying, "Come with us, you're not going to stay in this rain." The sofa with the blanket, Mia arranging everything so carefully. "This will be your spot." The hot soup that Harper prepared. The smell of food filling the small house. Mia's smile every time she saw him. Her eyes sparkling with pure joy. Harper's concern, the way she looked at him, checking if he was okay, if he had eaten enough. Every detail came back, every word, every feeling. Michael gently let go of Mia and looked at Harper. "Just you made vegetable soup that night," he said, his voice full of emotion. "It had carrots, potatoes, and a little chicken. You gave me the blue bowl, the one that had a chip on the rim." Harper's eyes widened. "How do you—" "And you sewed a pair of dark blue jeans that afternoon in the park," he continued. "It had a tear in the knee. You used brown thread because you didn't have blue." Harper covered her mouth with her hands, surprised. She didn't even remember those details. But then, suddenly, another kind of memory came. Different. Darker. Michael felt his head throbbing. He put his hands on his head, squeezing. Images began to flash, fast and confusing. He was leaving home alone, wandering aimlessly. He was confused, dizzy, didn't know where he was going. He walked through the streets. He tripped over something on the sidewalk. A stone. A hole. He couldn't see clearly. He fell. He fell hard, unable to protect himself, his head hitting the ground with force. A dull sound. Pain exploding. And then everything went dark. Everything disappeared. Silence. Michael was gasping now, clutching his head tightly. "Michael!" Harper ran to him, holding his arm. "What is it?" "I fell," he said, still gasping. "I hit my head. And then, nothing. Just darkness. Until you two." He lifted his eyes. He looked at Harper, then at Mia, then at Caleb, who had approached cautiously. "Before I remembered my name," he said, his voice firm now, full of emotion, "I remembered that I was her big friend." He looked at Mia, then he turned to Caleb. "And now, I'm starting to remember you too, Caleb." Caleb's eyes widened. Tears started to stream down. "Really, Dad?" Michael nodded, smiling through his tears. "Really? I remember. I remember you calling me to play ball in the garden. I remember your laugh when we watched cartoons together." Caleb couldn't take it. He ran and hugged his father tightly, crying, "I knew you would remember, I knew it." Michael hugged his son, squeezing tightly. He looked over the boy's head at Harper and Mia. They were crying too, hugging each other. Michael understood at that moment. He wasn't going to get back everything from his old life. Maybe he never would. There were pieces that were lost forever. But he had something more important now. He had the memories of the heart, The memories of those who welcomed him when he was no one. The memories of those who loved him without expecting anything in return. And he had the son who never gave up on him. He didn't need to get back everything from the past. He could build the future based on what his heart was able to hold on to. And that, Michael realized, was more than enough. 2 weeks after the reunion, Michael returned to Harper's house. This time he was firmer, more determined. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. The car stopped in front of the Simple house. Michael got out alone, asking the driver to wait. He knocked on the door. Harper opened it, surprised. "Michael, I wasn't expecting you today. I needed to come," he said. "Can I come in?" "Of course." He entered the small house. He stopped in the middle of the room and looked around. He saw the simple walls, with paint peeling in some corners. The old furniture repaired several times, the old sewing machine in the corner, the sofa where he had slept, with worn upholstery. But he also saw the effort in every detail, the impeccable cleanliness, the washed and ironed curtains, the cushions arranged carefully, the love that transformed that small place into a home. Mia appeared from the bedroom, running. "Big friend." He smiled and opened his arms. She jumped into them, and he hugged her. When he put her down, Michael looked at Harper, then at Mia. He took a deep breath. "You welcomed me when I was no one," he said, his voice full of emotion. "Sash, when I had no name, no memory, no anything. You gave me food, you gave me shelter, you treated me with dignity. Now I want to take care of you." Harper shook her head. "Michael, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he interrupted firmly. "I need to, not out of obligation, but because it's the right thing to do, because you saved my life." The following week, Michael returned with documents. Harper and Mia were sitting on the sofa when he arrived. He sat down in the chair opposite them and placed an envelope on the table. "I bought a house," he said, looking directly at Harper. Her eyes widened. "What?" "A house. It's not a mansion. Don't worry." He gave a small smile. "It's simple, but it's bigger than this one. It has 3 bedrooms, a spacious kitchen, a safe backyard for Mia to play. It's in a quiet neighborhood with well-lit streets near a good school." Harper was speechless. Michael took the keys out of his pocket and placed them in her hand. "You deserve a home where you don't lack any basic necessities, where you don't have to worry about leaks, about old wiring, about any of that." Harper looked at the keys in her hand. Tears began to fall. "Michael, I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," he replied gently. "Just accept it." Mia looked at everything with wide eyes, still trying to understand. Michael didn't stop there. A few days later, he returned with more documents. "I opened a bank account," he explained, "in both your names, Harper and Mia." Harper frowned, confused. "An account? With enough money so that you won't struggle," he said. "For food, clothes, bills, emergencies. You won't have to worry about whether there will be money left at the end of the month anymore." Harper covered her mouth with her hands, crying more. "Michael, this is too much." "It's not too much. It's the least I can do," he said, sincerely. "You gave me everything when you had so little. Now I can give back." After speaking with Harper, Michael turned to Mia. He knelt down, getting to her level. He held the little girl's small hands. "Mia," he began, looking right into her bright eyes, "I'm going to guarantee all your education." Mia tilted her head, curious. "Education?" "That's right. You'll be able to study at a good school. You'll have new books and supplies, a uniform. You'll have everything you need to learn," he smiled. "And it's not just now, it's always up to college, if you want." Mia's eyes sparkled. A huge smile appeared on her face. "Really? Really? You're a very smart girl. You deserve to have every opportunity in the world." Mia threw her arms around his neck, squeezing tightly. "Thank you, big friend." "Thank you." Harper couldn't hold back anymore. She sat down on the sofa and cried. She cried out of relief, gratitude, and emotion. Michael sat down beside her. "I will never forget what you did for me," he said softly. "Never." Harper wiped her tears and looked at him. "We just did what was right." "And now I'm doing what's right," he replied. There was no romance between them. There never was. There never would be. It was something else. Deeper, perhaps. It was gratitude. It was respect. It was genuine care. Michael was grateful to the family who welcomed him when he had nothing. When he was just a lost man, without a name, without a memory, without anyone. Harper was grateful for him recognizing the value of what they did, for not forgetting, for giving back from the heart. A few days later, when Michael took Caleb to see Harper and Mia's new house, the boy watched everything carefully. He saw his father talking to Harper in the new kitchen, laughing about something. He saw Mia showing the backyard to his father, jumping with joy. He saw the peace on his father's face, the lightness he hadn't seen in a long time. Caleb approached Harper while Michael was playing with Mia outside. "Thank you," he said softly. Harper looked at the boy, surprised. "Why, Caleb?" "For taking care of my dad when I couldn't, for not giving up on him, for making him smile again." Harper knelt down and hugged the boy. "You have an incredible father, Caleb. He loves you very much." Caleb nodded, his eyes shining. "I know, and now he's whole again." Harper smiled. He was right. Michael hadn't recovered all his memories. Maybe he never would, but he had recovered something more important. He had recovered himself. And now, surrounded by the people who loved him, the son who never gave up on him, and the two people who welcomed him when he was no one, he was truly whole again. Over time, Michael and Caleb's visits to Harper's new house became routine. Every Saturday morning, the car would stop in front of the house. Michael and Caleb would get out, always bringing something: fresh fruit, warm bread from the bakery, colorful flowers to brighten the table. At first, Caleb was a little shy. He watched Mia from a distance, not knowing quite how to approach her. She was different from the children he knew at his private school, simpler, more direct, more open. He stood near his father, watching Mia play in the backyard, wanting to join in but lacking the courage. But Mia didn't have that shyness. She never did. On one of those mornings, she dropped the doll she was holding and walked straight up to Caleb. She stopped in front of him with a huge smile. "Dad, you want to play with me, Caleb?" He looked at her, then at his father, as if asking for permission. Michael nodded his head, encouraging him. "Go ahead, son. Go play." Caleb gave a small, shy smile. "Okay." They started slowly. Mia got her colored pencils and a slightly used notebook. "Let's draw." They sat on the living room floor, side by side. Mia drew a house with huge flowers in front and a bright yellow sun. Caleb drew a red car with large wheels. "Your drawing is pretty," Mia said, craning her neck to look. "Yours too," Caleb replied, still a little shy, but already relaxing. After drawing, Mia had another idea. "Let's go to the backyard." She jumped up and ran out. Caleb ran after her. "Let's run," Mia shouted, already sprinting. Caleb ran after her, laughing. They ran in circles, played tag, and pretended the backyard was a magical forest. Mia suddenly stopped and ran to the porch. She returned with some colorful fabric scraps that Harper had given her. "These are superhero capes." She tied a red scrap around Caleb's neck. "Now you're super, Caleb," he laughed, getting into the game. "And you're super, Mia." She tied a blue scrap around her own neck. They ran through the backyard, pretending to fly with their arms outstretched, saving imaginary dolls from made-up dangers. Michael and Harper watched from the porch, sitting on the old chairs. "Dice, they're getting along well," Harper commented, smiling. "They are," Michael agreed, with warmth in his gaze. "It's so good to see Caleb like this. He was so serious, so worried. It seemed like he had forgotten how to be a kid. Now he's laughing again." Harper looked at Mia, who was shouting something about dragons. "Mia is different too, much happier. She was so quiet after you left. She barely played. Now look." Michael felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry for leaving you both like that." "You don't need to apologize." Harper gently touched his arm. "You did what you had to do. Your son needed you. And look at the result. Now they have each other." Michael smiled, watching the children. "That's true." As the weeks passed, the friendship between Mia and Caleb grew and strengthened. They became inseparable. Every time Michael visited, Caleb could barely wait for the car to stop before running out, looking for his friend. One day, after playing for a long time, They were sitting under the big tree in the backyard. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange, pink, and purple. Caleb was quiet, thoughtful, looking at his own hands. "Mia," he began, his voice soft. "Yes?" "I was so scared I would never find my dad again." Mia looked at him. She saw the deep sadness in his eyes. "I searched for so long," Caleb continued, his voice growing weaker. "It was months. Everyone said he had gone away, that he wouldn't come back, that I had to accept it, but I couldn't believe it. I knew, deep in my heart, that he was somewhere." Mia was silent for a moment. Then she said, with all the sincerity that only a child has, "I took care of your dad until you got here." Caleb quickly looked up, surprised. "Really? Really?" Mia nodded. "My mom and I gave him food every day. We never forgot him. We let him sleep on our sofa when it was raining. I talked to him, showed him my drawings, told him stories from school. I took care of him while you weren't here. I took care of him for you." Caleb's eyes filled with tears. He blinked several times but he couldn't hold them back. "Thank you," he said. His voice choked. "Thank you so much for taking care of him for me." Mia smiled and held his hand. "We're friends now, aren't we?" Caleb squeezed her hand back. "Yes, we are." The friendship was solidified right there, under that tree, with the sun setting and the first stars appearing. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Caleb and Mia started doing everything together. They shared snacks every time. Mia always set aside half of her sandwich for her friend. When Mia started at the new, better school, Caleb would help her with her homework whenever she struggled. "This one is easy," he explained patiently, pointing to the notebook. "You just need to add the numbers. Look, 2 + 3 = 5. See?" Mia bit her tongue, concentrating, trying to solve it alone. "I did it. See? I knew you could do it." Caleb clapped his hands, proud. They shared children's secrets, silly things, unimportant to adults, but huge to them. "I'm scared of the dark," Mia confessed one day, whispering. "Me too," Caleb admitted. "But don't tell anyone, okay? Our secret," Mia promised, making the gesture of locking her mouth with an invisible key and throwing it away. Harper watched her daughter every day and saw a completely new joy, a special spark in her eyes that had disappeared when the big friend left, but that now returned even stronger. Michael watched his son and saw a lightness he hadn't seen in a long time. Caleb smiled more, laughed louder, played without worry. He was being a real child again. One Saturday morning, Caleb arrived with a folded piece of paper in his pocket. He seemed anxious, guarding a special secret. After lunch, he called Mia over. "Mia, come out to the backyard. I have something to show you." She jumped out of the chair and followed him. In the backyard under the tree, Caleb took the paper out of his pocket. He unfolded it carefully, smoothing the edges. It was a drawing made with colored pencils, carefully done, with every detail thought out. In the drawing, there were 4 people, him and Mia holding hands in front, smiling. Harper and Michael behind them, also smiling with their hands on the children's shoulders, all of them inside a carefully drawn house with large windows, colorful flowers in the garden, and a huge yellow sun in the sky. "This is us," Caleb said, handing the drawing to Mia. "It's all of us, a family." Mia took the drawing and looked at every detail. Her eyes sparkled. "It's beautiful, Caleb. Very beautiful." She hugged her friend with all her might. "You're my best friend, Caleb." He hugged her back, smiling from ear to ear. "And you're my best friend, Mia." The months continued to pass, bringing beautiful changes. Harper already had her small studio completely set up. Michael had helped her buy a new, modern, faster sewing machine. He had helped her make business cards and promote her work. Now Harper had regular clients, guaranteed orders every month. The money came in steadily. She no longer had to stay up late, worried, calculating if there would be money left over. Michael continued to live in the mansion with Caleb, but he was always present in Harper and Mia's lives. He visited every week without fail. He brought Caleb to play. He helped with whatever was needed, from fixing a faucet to buying school supplies. The two families slowly became one family of the heart. They had lunch together every Sunday without exception. Harper prepared the food with care. Michael brought dessert and fruit. They talked for hours, laughed, shared the week's stories, the challenges, the small victories. They celebrated holidays together, birthdays with cake and candles, holidays with special food, achievements that deserved celebration, like Mia's good grade or Harper's new client. They supported each other in difficulties without hesitation. When Harper had a problem with a difficult client, Michael went there and helped resolve it. When Caleb got sick with a fever, Harper went to the mansion with a pot of homemade soup. It was a real family, not by blood, but by conscious choice, by open hearts, by true love. One Sunday evening, when the sky was already dark and full of stars, everyone was sitting at Harper's table. Harper had made a simple but delicious dinner: fluffy rice, seasoned beans, golden roasted chicken, and fresh salad. Nothing luxurious, nothing sophisticated, but made with all the care in the world. Mia and Caleb were laughing loudly at some completely silly joke that only they understood, that kind of humor that only children share. Harper watched the two of them, completely moved. She looked at Michael across the table and smiled, her eyes shining. Michael slowly looked around, at the simple table, at the steaming homemade food, at the children laughing non-stop, at Harper smiling with that special spark. "You know," he said, his voice low but full of deep peace, "I've never felt so at peace in my life. Never." Harper felt her eyes well up. "Me neither," she replied, her voice trembling. "Me neither, Michael." Caleb stopped laughing suddenly. He looked at Harper. His eyes were serious now, but full of sincere affection. "Harper," he began. "Yes, Caleb. I really like you, truly. You're part of our family now, you and Mia." Harper felt the tears finally stream down. She stood up, went to the boy, and hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Caleb. Thank you very much. You and your father are also part of our family, always will be." Mia watched the scene and didn't want to be left out. She stood up and went to Michael. She climbed onto his lap and hugged his neck with all the strength of her little arms. "You will always be my big friend," she said, with the same immense affection as always. Michael hugged her, squeezing tightly, feeling his heart overflow with gratitude and love. "And you will always be my little friend with a big heart," he replied, his voice choked. Later, when dinner was over and the dishes were washed, everyone went out to the backyard. Mia and Caleb ran across the grass, playing tag under the silver light of the full moon. Their loud, pure laughter echoed through the quiet night. Harper sat on the porch of the small studio that Michael had helped build. She picked up a piece of clothing and began to sew, making small, precise stitches in the light of the lamp. Michael stayed inside the house, tidying the table calmly, putting the dishes away in the cabinets, and wiping every surface. He looked out the window occasionally, watching the children play bass and Harper sewing. And he smiled. He smiled with a full heart. It wasn't the life he had before. It wasn't the luxurious and empty life of the enormous mansion, the stressful business the money that didn't bring happiness. It was something infinitely better. It was a life with true purpose, with real love, with people who truly mattered. It was a life built on true bonds, on choices of the heart, on deep gratitude and mutual care. Michael stopped cleaning for a moment. He looked out the window and absorbed everything. The children running free and happy, Harper quietly working in her studio, that simple house but full of life and love. And he realized with crystal clear clarity that he had found exactly what he had always needed. He hadn't recovered all the memories of the past. Maybe he never would completely, but he had built something new, something real, something solid. He had found his true home, not a physical place made of walls and a roof, but people. People who loved him for who he was, not for what he had. And that, Michael knew with absolute certainty, was the greatest treasure anyone could have in life. The final scene remained etched like a perfect photograph. Mia and Caleb running through the backyard under the moonlight, Harper sewing on the studio porch with the lamp lit, Michael tidying the table inside the house, smiling as he watched his new family through the window. A family, not traditional, not conventional, but true, but real. but built on true love. And that was all that mattered. End with a feeling of warmth, complete healing, true bonds that transcend blood, and a beautiful future for everyone. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.